Testing, yes. All right. Good evening, Moorhead. It is now 4:30, and we are going to call the meeting of the Moorhead Public Service Commission to order. The Moorhead Public Service Commission welcomes and encourages customer input on issues listed on the agenda or of general water and electric utility interest, time and commission permitting. Speakers are limited to 3-minute presentations. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item will be afforded an opportunity during this discussion of that item. Customers wishing to speak on matters not listed on the agenda will be given the opportunity to do so under the heading Customers to be Heard and Recognitions. Each person requesting the opportunity to speak is asked to fill out a request to speak form located on the table at the back of the room and present it to the administrative assistant in attendance at this meeting. Any follow-up or feedback will be done by email on anything that cannot be resolved this evening. So, as a reminder, make sure that your button is red so when you talk, the microphone comes on. All right. I do believe we're going to have Joel Paulson appearing. Well, I don't see him though. He is going to be oh, hi, Joel.
I'm here, Lisa. I'm just working on my video. For some reason, my camera's not working, so I'll get it going here in a sec.
Perfect. All right. So some members of the Public Service Commission may be attending today's meeting via interactive technology. If you are attending that way, which is Mr. Joel Paulson, we ask that you keep your camera and microphone turned on so we can see you and hear you during the meeting. We'll note for the record that Joel's having technical difficulties with his camera, but we know he can hear us, so we can hear him, so I think we are good to go. All right, so now I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to have to do a roll call vote. Hang on just a second. So, Lyseth.
Aye.
Ness.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
And Borgen, aye. So that motion passes. The next item is number 3 on the agenda. We are going to approve the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'm looking for a second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. And we will have to have a roll call vote on that as well. Lyseth?
Aye.
Ness?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Borgen, yes. So that motion passes. The next item on the agenda is customers to be heard and recognitions. Are there any customers to be heard tonight? Any customers to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move on to recognitions, and I'll turn it over to...
Oh, yeah, never mind,
Yep.
sorry. Yes, I got a few recognitions. Ryan Nelson, he's one of our lead linemen, just had his 20-year milestone with MPS. We also had several employees complete their MRES, or the MRES leadership training that we send them to. So they go on an annual basis, they go 4 times to Sioux Falls. So there's 2 different courses that they've got. Supervisor's Essentials, which is kind of their lead into supervisory, or soon to maybe be going into supervisory type roles. Mandy Savageau, she's within our IT group as our records management coordinator. Justin Malland, he's a lineman for us. Shane Weary is on our water distribution crew. And Tyler Matheson is a senior field tech for us as well too. And then for the lead course, which is more of a higher level leadership class, we had Paul Steffen, he's a lead lineman for us, and Adam Benthart, who's in the audience tonight. They've all completed their course here in mostly in October, but I think they might have finalized in September with one of the courses. So that is all I have for recognitions.
All right, congratulations to all of the fine employees at Moorhead Public Service. And the next item is old business. Is there any old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8 is a public hearing.
We'll do that. We'll do that at 5:30, so go to item 9.
Oh, go to item 9, thank you. So item 9 is reports, and city council report, and that's me. So we had a city council workshop today, and we reviewed the rates for wastewater, sanitation, forestry, stormwater, and we also had a presentation about electric rates and water rates, which we are going to be having here tonight. I think the takeaway that I found from those discussions was that the departure of bush ag really does make a significant impact on wastewater fees and our water rates. It's not something that's new, but I think it's something that we should continue to be talking about, because when people see their rate increases, we need them to understand that when you lose a big industrial customer, it does affect the entire city. So that is my city council report. Any public service commissioners have any reports they want to give? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the general manager's report. Travis.
I got a couple items in here. Give me just a second to get to my section. We have in the general manager report, there is a notice or a letter from MRES. On an annual basis, we have to do what they call a generation verification test for our Centennial Generating Station. This is just basically proving that when we call on it, that it provides roughly 10 megawatts of generation per our reserve capacity agreement that we have with MRES. And we did that back on July 1st of this year, and we met all of our requirements for that as well too. We also have a note in there on the Red River Water Festival that occurred September 16th through the 19th, and we had a bunch of our water plant staff that attended that event to help teach, if I'm right, fourth grade students in Moorhead and Fargo. We also collaborate with the City of Fargo Water Plant. They help out with that because we've got the AWWA Minnesota Conference in Duluth during that week, so kind of split the duties on that. And then we did receive an award at the MRES 2025 Technology Days. We submitted for two of the 5 categories. We received a Watt Star Award for Extraordinary Event, and that was based on traveling to Florida for one of the hurricanes and helping out with that, along with the support we are giving Hillsborough as well too. So, and that is all I have for my report tonight.
Hey, anyone have any questions about the general manager's report? All right, moving on, we'll do 9D is accepting the 2025 water rate study by MRES.
Sure. I will have Mark Moylan come up and start that process, and then he'll have Tim Miller come up and give the presentation from MRES. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, thank you, Travis. Good afternoon, commissioners. What we have before you today is to accept the 2025 water rate study that's completed by MRES. Back in January of 2025, the Commission approved a proposal from MRES to prepare a water rate study in 2025 for years 26 through 29. The study was originally going to occur in 2026, but as Lisa indicated in her remarks, the loss of a high-volume water customer prompted us to move it up a year, and Tim Miller from MRES, the Director of Rates, graciously was able to fit it into his schedule, and as such, he is going to prepare or present the findings from that rate study tonight. Tim has done a number of rate studies for us, I think going back almost 20 years, and the format has remained somewhat similar, but we do have minor adjustments here or there to make sure each customer class is paying their fair share of rates, that everything is equitable, and as part of the rate study, Tim kind of sets up what the rates could be for the upcoming budget year, as well as for the next 3 or 4 years. He will have a caveat that the rates are subject to change if future situations or conditions do change. But for now, we do have rates set for our next year at 5.5%. So at this time, I'd like to have Tim come up and do a presentation. And Tim Miller, MRES Director of Rates.
Thanks, Mark. Welcome, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Waiting for the slides here. This is our 5th rate study, water rate study for MPS, and that dates back to 2004. So we really appreciate being here and we're going to take a look back in a couple slides and see how things have changed over the last 20 years. It's certainly has an impact on the rate design that we're looking at here today. There we go. Okay. So as has been mentioned already, we are proposing 5.5% increases. We've reviewed the financial planning that staff does and really concurred with what their conclusions were in terms of the 5.5% increases each year. I have to give kudos to staff. I think we worked with a lot of utilities, and the financial planning that goes on here is exceptional. It's much better than maybe most places. So we do appreciate seeing that, and we agreed with what the numbers came out in terms of that aspect of it. So really our role then was to allocate the costs to the different customer classes to figure out what they should pay. Obviously, we need to design the rates for each class, and then also compare rates. And you do some comparisons locally. We kind of do a more in-depth look at the comparisons. So that's the things that you'll kind of look at here today is those aspects of the study. Not everyone is going to get a 5.5% increase. We always emphasize that one of the roles of the study is to kind of look at how the rates are balanced and to see if some customers should pay a little more or a little less. So you'll see that in the results too, that we're not just doing a blanket 5.5 to everyone. It's going to vary a little bit by customer and class. Another point of emphasis that we've always had in our rate studies is a fixed cost recovery. So you'll see an increase in the 5/8 3/4 inch meter charge. That's the smallest meter that you have. That's actually about 94% of your customers. So that's almost all of the customers are going to see a little increase in that charge, and then the other charges would remain the same. And again, we'll get into the details of that here in a minute. You've already heard it a couple times. The loss of Bush has been huge for the water utility, and so we had to kind of deal with those impacts in between studies, and that again prompted the need to bump this up. We are looking at about a 9% decrease in usage this year and no growth after that. So hopefully you might get some growth, get a new customer. We wanted to be conservative and make sure that we weren't overestimating your sales. So we've assumed no growth going forward beyond this year. Another aspect in terms of the rate increase is the treatment plant operating costs. I know staff is working very hard to mitigate those costs and manage those, but it has gone up about $2.6 million over the last few years, and so we're kind of still feathering that into the rates over time in terms of some of those costs. The other thing you've got in terms of your financial planning is a very detailed capital plan, which again is great because you're kind of looking forward to the future and seeing what needs you have out there. So you've got about $32 million planned just over the next 5 years. If all that occurs, you would increase debt service by about $1.5 million, which that alone would have about a 12.5% rate impact. So that's another aspect of your planning that goes into the study so that we can kind of be prepared for these changes that might go on. Another bullet there is your industrial rates. You've got 2 remaining industrial customers. Those rates are still very competitive. All your rates are doing pretty well, but we'll look at that here near the end of the presentation. So looking back, this is a little bit small, but you can see looking back 20 years, the sales makeup that you had back then, you can see that about half your sales were residential and apartments. Those are the yellow and the brown pieces there. Now in 2025, they're almost 2/3 of your sales. So that's increased quite a bit. Those are tending to be, I consider, kind of stable sales. Those are homes and apartments that are usually occupied. Commercials held in there at about 15 to 16%, but again, the big change is industrial. 20 years ago, they were about 1/3 of your sales, and now you're down to 10%. And that's evenly split between the remaining 2 customers. So that's the impacts that we've been really dealing with the last year or two in terms of the changes in sales composition as those sales have gone down. That's had an impact on your utility finances. Dilworth was just starting to buy water in 2005, and that was a plan to kind of step up purchases over time. You can see they're up to 9%, so that's been a nice addition to your sales mix as well to serve them. So taking a closer look at sales, then you can see the blue line above is the residential and apartment usage. And these are sales units, so you can see about 1 million CCF back in 2005 is what you were selling to these 2 groups. I've noted at the bottom there that over those 20 years, you've added almost 3,000 homes and about 90 new apartment buildings into your sales mix. But despite that, your sales have only grown by about 50,000 units. We would have expected about 200,000 extra units based on that growth in the number of homes and apartments. But again, that's the effect of having more efficient water usage. You're going to see that in the next page. But basically, customers are using less water. They're using it more efficiently, which is a good thing. but again, it's dropping your sales units, which does have a big impact on your rates. The more profound impact is on the commercial industrial line there down below. You can see that 20 years ago that was at 900,000 units. This year with the closing of Bush, you're down at about less than half of that. So about a 50% decline in those sales. So the reason we're kind of showing you this is that rates, if you really boil it down, it's a matter of taking costs divided by billing units. We all know that costs are going up. Unfortunately, that's going up for every utility. When your billing units are going down, inherently that's going to put a lot of pressure on rates because it's just the simple math of how that's working. So you can see when your sales units are going down, unfortunately the other customers are having to pick up the slack for some of those costs that really don't change. So that's why we want to kind of show you these numbers and kind of explain the reason for some of these increases. This is looking at the sales per residential meter per month. Again, looking back to 1991, quite a long ways ago, but you can see you're at about 800 cubic feet per meter per month. That dropped to around 600 20 years ago, and now you see all the way down to about 500. So again, everything's using less water. That's a good thing for the environment. That's a good thing for the utility because you can stretch your resources longer. But again, those sales are continuing to go down as people are using water more wisely. So again, we're seeing this across all the utilities. Obviously, everything's more efficient than it was 20, 30 years ago. So. Okay, looking at your utility costs, about a third of your costs are fixed capital costs and debt service. That again is pretty consistent with other utilities. You can see you're investing a lot of money into your system, into water mains, treatment plant, all of these things to again make sure that the facilities are ready to serve in the future. So that's a very key component of it. Brown and salaries and benefits, obviously very important to have quality people working for the utility. The 18% there is your non-variable fixed costs, so all the other plant costs that don't vary with volume, that comes in at 18%. But the one in red is really the significant one, the 16%. That's your variable power and chemicals. So only 16% roughly of your total costs vary when you gain or you lose sales. So unfortunately, when a key customer like your industrial customer left, the slice of cost that you avoid is fairly thin compared to the revenues that you lost from that customer. And so I've noted at the bottom there, each 1% change in sales is anywhere from 50 to 75,000 in margin that you lose. And that's whether sales are up or down with weather conditions or customer changes or whatever the cause might be. That's the impact on your bottom line, basically. And each 1% then is about a 0.5% rate impact. So again, very significant changes as you've kind of already reviewed when you gain or you lose a customer or based on dry or wet weather each year. The last piece there is the transfer to the city. That's been consistent for many years at 5% of revenues. I will point out, most water utilities don't make a transfer to the city general government. Moorhead's always had one. That's been the way for many, many years. But when you see that in the rate comparisons and other things, keep that in mind that that's a cost that the water utility is paying that others may not have to pay. So it's just a difference in how things are structured, but that is a piece of the total cost for Moorhead Public Service. Okay, CapEx, I won't go into this in detail. You're looking at your budgets and your capital plans, but these are going to match what you're going to see in your budget. $32 million of capital plans. Obviously, the big one there is the Highway 10 raw water line. That's been delayed a couple times, but we're looking at maybe 2 or 3 years out on that. And obviously, the well field is another big one that's been bumped back a little bit, but again, depending upon the funding and all that for that, that could be up to $15 million. So again, staff is kind of planning for that going forward to make sure that that's not catching us by surprise if and when some of these things do occur. As far as additional debt, then we've got the interfund loan, payments of $325 per year. We've got a small loan for the City Hall remodel. I know those plans are still evolving. And then the big loan there in 27 would be for the Highway 10 raw water line. If that occurs, that would fund that project. And that would be an addition of $1.1 million. So that's going to be a significant change. Again, debt service would go up from about $1.7 million to $3.2, about a 12.5% rate impact. So these are all things, again, we're planning for, putting into the rate forecast so we know we're ready when that time comes. And please stop me if I have any questions, if I haven't said that already, if you've got anything. But so looking at net income and loss, you can see the red bars there are with current rates, historical and projected income and loss. So you can see that the utility would drop down to a net loss position here in a couple of years if you didn't do any rate changes. And recognizing you're not going to let that happen and you're not going to go without having these increases, but we kind of want to show a worst case example of what would happen if you don't do anything with rates, just so that people know that some needs are out there to increase rates. We did assume the same percentage increases as the MPS financial model, so 3% increases in chemicals and salaries, 2% to everything else. So all those kind of assumptions are in there. Under proposed rates in the blue bar, you can see that income would stabilize at about $1.5 million going forward. So we feel like that's a reasonable level. Again, that's going to match up pretty well with the financial model that your staff have already kind of prepared. Another key metric is days cash on hand. Under the red bars, you can see again that would drop off to nearly nothing by 2029, so we don't want that to happen. Under proposed rates, that would stay above your targeted minimum of 225. It would be lower than it's been in recent years, but still going to be above the minimum. And we still feel like still at a decent level for the utility. And looking out further beyond 29, it looks like it's going to rebound even more after that. So I think you're on the right track with the rate plan that you have in place. As far as cash balances, this is very small, but you can see some really nice growth in cash the last few years. I think part of that is because some projects have been delayed a little bit. So some of the debt service that we planned in previous study hasn't occurred yet. It's been bumped out a little bit. So you have been able to accumulate some nice cash that would go down very significantly, again, without rate increases. With the rate increases, that would stabilize out there at about $8 million. So again, we feel like that's a pretty reasonable level. Not going to grow cash any more than that, but still stabilizing at a really healthy level for the utility. Percentage of operating revenues, this is just another way to look at cash, looking at a ratio of cash to revenues. A lot of water utilities are anywhere from 50 to 100% or more, and so you're kind of in that bandwidth of what we normally see. You can see the blue line there. You're still going to tail off just a little bit at the end, but this too, I think, is going to recover going forward beyond the study period. So we feel like we're on the right track for all the things that you've got planned. Okay, kind of switching gear into cost of service, then we look at some key factors in terms of allocating costs to the different customer classes. So we look at base and extra costs. You can see the definitions of how those work. Base costs are basically chemicals and powers. Anything that kind of varies by volume is in the base costs. Extra is anything in addition to that. Anything in addition to an average day goes into the extra category. We also look at all the billing data that's provided to us and come up with these capacity factors. And it's ratio of maximum day to average day. So just looking at those, how those stack up, how much more those customers use in the summer, or when the water usage is at the greatest compared to the average day that they use. So residential, commercial, and Dilworth, and you're going to see this here in a minute, they have a factor of about 2.2 or 2.3. Industrial is a little bit lower, a little bit steadier usage at 1.9, and then the apartments come in the lowest at 1.6. Most apartment buildings maybe don't have a lot of irrigation tied to them, and so it's just the usage in the building itself, and so it doesn't vary very much from winter to summer. The key thing we want to mention here is that the lower the factor, the lower the rate. So you'll see that here in a minute. That's why I wanted to point out kind of how the cost of service works. Again, there's a lot more details behind this, but just kind of a high-level overview of that cost allocation process. Okay, then this again too is small, I apologize, but you can see these lines here looking at the last 6 years of water usage by month. In the winter months, fairly consistent as you would expect, anywhere from 130 to 140,000 CCF. Summer months, obviously a lot more variability between dry and wet years, so you can see a couple of dry years there in 21 and 23, so sales went up quite a bit. When sales go up, obviously that's good for the utility. You're selling more water. We've already looked at how your variable marginal costs are small compared to the revenues, so that's generally a good thing when you sell more water. And then the red line obviously is 2025, so you can see the pretty profound impact of losing that key customer. In several months, you're well below what you've been in other years. So that's really showing up in the billing data as you would expect without that customer. This other slide then is interesting. So you can see the average monthly usage by class. That top line there is residential, and you can see in the summer months, they're using about 50% more per month than the winter months. So that gets back to that capacity factor being higher because, again, all the lawn watering that goes on in the summer months, that's showing up in that monthly data. Same with commercial. It's a little bit harder to see there in that brown line, but there again, they go from about 20,000 to 30,000 CCF. So they're using, again, about 50% more. Some of the colleges and some other heavy irrigators are in that mix. So they're getting a bigger capacity factor than other classes. On the other hand, apartments and industrials are pretty stable. Bush was actually more stable than some of the others. So that's going to change over time. Industrial's got a little bit of a higher in the fall when they're processing and things, but again, fairly stable usage. But the key takeaway here is that you're building your treatment plant and your towers and everything to meet those summer demands. You've got fire flows to consider also, but certainly these summer demands have a big impact on how you design the system, and so that's how we allocate costs. So the people that drive up those costs are kind of paying that share of those costs. Okay, so these are the breakdown then based on the cost of service of the customer charges. Not going to go through all these numbers in detail, but really the bottom line is you've got various meter sizes. So larger customers that use more water have a bigger meter, so that allows more water into their facility for whatever they're doing, restaurants, industrial customers, so on. It costs more to serve bigger meters, more to supply the meter, more to change out the service line if that's necessary. So you can see the costs go up based on standard industry ratios. The bigger the meter, the higher the cost, and that's why you're going to see that in the charges that they pay. Debt service is also allocated based on meter size, and that's the way we've done it for the last several studies. So the bigger meter sizes are going to pay more of those fixed costs for a system that's kind of ready to serve them, and they're paying, again, for that ability to tap into your system and use more water. Billing and collection, we kind of spread that evenly across all customers. So you can see there in the white, the third column to the right, those are the charges indicated by the cost of service study. In general, your current charges in 2025 are mostly above cost of service. The reason for that, part of the reason, is that we assisted staff last fall once we heard about Bush closing, of kind of revamping the rates and then eliminating the fire protection charges, which was done at the beginning of this year. So we had some pretty significant increases in the customer charges going into this year, trying to anticipate what this study might indicate, the full study. And I think we did a pretty good job. So there were some pretty significant increases to the customer charges in 2025. And now we're indicating that really all of them are where they need to be, except for that smallest meter charge. That should go up a little bit. So that's what the study is indicating, that for that 5/8 to 3/4 inch charge should go up less than $1 a year, not huge changes, but just to kind of continue phasing in towards cost of service. You can also see the average charge for the other utilities in the area. You're above that, but I tend to think of that as more of a positive because, again, you've really emphasized that fixed cost recovery. The key with these charges is that these are dollars you can count on from year to year. Dry years, wet years, these are monies that are going to come in because they're a fixed customer charge. And so with all the debt service you got coming online, it's really important to maintain these charges so that you can count on this share of revenues in good and bad years. So that's really the focus of these charges. Okay, looking at the percentage increases then, by and large, the cost of service indicated fairly even increases across the classes. Again, we're looking at 5.5 per year. On a compounded basis, that would be 24% over the 4 years. So we are indicating just slightly over that for residential, just slightly under that for apartments. Commercial coming in a little bit less at just over 3% per year. Industrial coming in at 9% per year, and then Dilworth about 7.2 to 7.5. So again, this is really the goal of the study, is to not just spread all the increases evenly, but really look at what the costs are saying, look at the seasonal usage patterns and the customer costs and the meter costs and all of that, and come up with these proposed increases by class. So this is kind of continuing the process that we've looked at in past studies to make sure that customers are paying kind of what they should. Looking at the proposed meter charges then, customer charges, again, we've already indicated that we're not proposing any changes to most of these except for the smallest meter charge going up over the 4 years by small increments each year to get up to $23.50 by 2029. As Mark already indicated, this is a rate plan. I want to mention that up front too, that this could change over time. This is kind of a plan that we've laid forward. If things change and we need to modify this, we certainly can, but we want to kind of lay it out over 4 years to kind of see what this would look like. But for the coming year, it would go up to $21.35, so a pretty modest change of about 75 cents for most of your customers who pay that charge. These are the average annual volume rates, just to kind of give you a sense of where those are headed These are not the actual rates charged to customers. These are just taking the averages by season, because as you'll see here in the next slide, you've got seasonal rates. In general, again, we're stepping up all of these increases based on cost of service. The commercial and industrial rates are coming a little closer together, again, because of the change in customer mix and because of the cost of service. Those two rates would come a little closer than what they are now. Otherwise, we're kind of, again, stepping these up over time to meet the cost of service requirements. You will notice that Dilworth does have the lowest rate. That's because even though their usage patterns are similar than residential, they have their own distribution system and they have their own tower. So when we do the cost allocations, and this is something we've been doing all along, we do make an adjustment to take out the water towers and the distribution main replacements from the costs that are allocated to them. And they reviewed these allocations and agreed with them and so on. And so that's why you're going to see that they get a lower rate. It's more of a wholesale rate. And then, of course, they tack on their local costs to get billed up to their retail rate. So that's why you'll see that their rate is lower than everyone else. And I should add, though, that Dilworth does pay a full share of treatment plant costs, pumping costs, anything that's used to serve them, they definitely pay their share of those costs. Okay, looking at the rate design, you've got conservation rates. The state of Minnesota mandated that you looked at that. So about 13 years ago, you implemented seasonal rates to meet that requirement. And I think it makes sense from a cost standpoint, too. If you've got a customer that's using a lot of water in the summer, that's certainly their right to do that, but they should probably pay a little more if that's their choice to use a ton of water in the summer as opposed to their neighbor that may not be using any at all. So that's really the focus, is just, again, get people to pay what they should for the water they use. On the residential side, we're kind of bringing the seasonal rates together just a little bit, so we're just backing off just a little bit on that seasonal price signal, but not huge changes there. For the rest of classes, really we're maintaining about a 15% difference between the summer and the winter rates. So not a huge price signal, but just enough, I think, to be meaningful and to show customers that this is really the cost of providing service in the summer versus the winter. So that, again, kind of maintains that same structure that we've had for about a dozen years now. Again, on the industrial side, you can see lower rates overall than some of the other classes. You've got the regional Dilworth rate, and then some metered hydrant and raw water rates. Again, I won't go through all those, but those are all stepping up over time to meet the revenue requirements of the utility. Okay, and this is, again, pretty small, but I want to look into the rate comparisons. One thing I want to note right off the bat is that our goal here is not to prove that you're the lowest, because for one thing, not everyone can be the lowest, and I think there's good reasons why you're a little bit higher than some other utilities on the chart. So we're certainly not showing you this to make you look bad or to look like, oh, look at where you're at. Again, as noted there, you've got different sources of water, groundwater, surface water. You happen to have both, which is fairly unusual. You've got an advanced treatment process that most other utilities don't have. You've got poor water quality that you deal with, and you know all these things, but there's a lot of things, a lot of hurdles that you're dealing with here in Moorhead that some of these other utilities may not have to deal with. And so even funding sources may differ. Some utilities may have different funding sources, sales tax and so on. The transfer comes into this. So there's a lot of factors in play that result in these comparisons. What we're trying to do with this, though, is look across the different comparisons and see where is your relative position in each graph. Does it make sense to where you're at and kind of where you stack up across the different classes? So this is residential. You can see a typical user, 5.5 CCF or 550 cubic feet. And you're actually, the median is only 9% lower. So you can see that the bills are at the top. The percentage difference is at the bottom. The median bill of those other utilities is only 9% lower. So you're kind of in the thick of things. We definitely know that other utilities are going up over time. 5% increases are pretty common for water utilities. Some are seeing even more. The other thing I would note is that we've seen several utilities that were at the bottom end of the chart and had a sudden big capital expenditure come up like a water tower or something, and all of a sudden they're doing 10, 15% increases over time, and all of a sudden they're going from the bottom to the middle to the upper. So it's not unusual at all to see that. What I like about what you're doing is that you're trying to plan ahead and have dividing up those increases into even increments and trying to keep that manageable over time. So I think you're doing a good job with that. And again, this typical customer would go up just over $3 per month in 2026. On the next graph, you can see more of a heavy lawn watering customer, 16.5 CCF in the summer. You're on the little bit higher end of the scale here. Part of the reason for that is that some utilities don't have this kind of conservation mandate. For instance, in North Dakota, there's no such mandate that you have to structure rates that way, so it's a little bit different there. And some utilities haven't been as aggressive with that price signal. I think you're on the right track of what you're doing, but it does show up in the comparisons that you're a little bit higher for this type of customer than other utilities. And actually, we're backing off this a little bit so you can see this customer would only get about 4% increase. So again, this is where we're tweaking the rates over time to kind of manage things and see where they should be. For a commercial customer, kind of a middle of the road usage, once again, you can see the median is about 30% lower than Moorhead. This customer would go up about 3%, so a little bit less of an impact. The cost of service over time, that changes, and this is indicating they should maybe get a little bit smaller increase than some of the other customers in the city. And finally, one of your largest customers, an industrial customer. One of the strengths of MPS has always been very competitive industrial rates. This continues. You can see the median is actually 9% higher than MPS. So even with the proposed increase of 9%, you're going to be right even with the median. So again, part of the reason is the cost allocations have been giving recognition to the steady usage of industrial customers. Some other utilities may not do that. So you recognize their usage patterns, and they're getting still a very competitive rate going forward. With that, I'll summarize. Again, these rate increases unfortunately are necessary because of cost increases, losing a key customer. But I think they're manageable level of increases that you planned, and again, very much the norm with other utilities facing the same cost increases. We've emphasized fixed costs. We've looked at the residential impact of just over $3. As always, we can always assist with any changes that are needed because we know the plan can change over time. But we're definitely seeing, again, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15% increases on water. So again, thank you very much to staff for all their input, all the back and forth, Mark and Allison and everyone else of all the information they provided, Travis. And yeah, I'll entertain any other questions if you have them.
Any questions? I think the report was really enlightening, especially for people who are fairly new to this. Yeah, so I think it was really good. And again, it kind of highlights when you lose that industrial customer, how it impacts everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, some residential users might look at that industrial rate and think, why are they paying so low? Well, we need them. We need them to stay here. They're the good customer. They buy a lot of water from us. So we need to make sure that they continue to do business here in Moorhead. So, all right. Thank you so much for your report.
I have a question for the general manager, if that's
Sure,
possible.
go ahead.
Is this presentation made available to the city council?
Sorry, we did have that conversation today, as Commissioner Borgen noted. It was not just the water that was impacted, wastewater was impacted as well too. So they did note that, and last year when we had already done our rate hearing at that point in time when Anheuser-Busch decided to give their notice that they were going to be shutting down operations. And we did provide an update to council as well too, that it was going to look to be another 1.5% rate increases because of the closure that was going to occur.
Thank you.
But yeah, if anything, we could do a one-way communication and send the link to the page if they want to look at it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to just send that PowerPoint deck to the council members, just so they get a little bit more in the weeds on why this is all happening. I think that's a great idea. Okay, anything else? If not, we're going to move on to item number 9F, accept report. Oop,
Make a motion.
Motion and
oh, forgot to do that. Okay, we need a motion to accept the electric service, no, what are we doing? Rate study.
Water rate
Accept
study.
the water rate study. Sorry about that.
Make a motion.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes, so that motion passes. Now we're going to move on to 9E, accept report on electric service extension surcharges.
Sure, and I'll have Adam Benhart come up. He's kind of been our rate comparison and surcharge guru over the last couple of years. Again, on an annual basis, we provide this information to the commission. It's also included as part of the budget process. So anytime that there's a service territory buyout where we take over an area or extend service into the outer edges of Moorhead as part of annexation, we go through that process. There is costs that go into that, typically from the buyout costs of buying it from the current utility or previous utility, whatever you want to call it. And then we set those rates for that. So I'm going to let Adam kind of explain the rest from there. Go ahead,
All
Adam.
right, thanks, Adam.
Adam Benhart, Construction Manager. As Travis said, this is our report on our electric service extension surcharges. We recalculate this every year for the areas that we have previously annexed into the city of Moorhead. These annexations require MPS to purchase these service areas that were currently being served by either Red River Co-op or Xcel Energy. The surcharge is adjusted annually based on MPS's rates and compared to those of the previous utility that served that specific area. The rate difference between Xcel and Red River Co-op versus MPS continues to widen, as you saw on the rate that I brought a month and a half ago, which is why the service extension surcharge is growing each year. Customers pay approximately half of the difference in rates to reimburse MPS for lost revenue and reintegration costs until the buyout price has been recaptured. One question that Commissioner Paulson asked last year that I'd like to readdress this year is these surcharges are 1 year behind because of the rate comparisons. So their residents are paying this year based on the our rates for last year. Any questions?
Questions? All right. Thanks, Adam. So there was no questions, no discussion. I'm looking for a motion to accept the report of the electric service extension surcharges.
So moved.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
I'll do second.
Okay, so I will just say that it's Paulson moved and Ness seconded. And all those in favor, Lyseth, Ness, Paulson,
Aye.
and Borgen, yes. So that motion passes. All right, now we're on to F, 9F, accept report number 1 on the proposed 2026 budget. And that would be Mr. Moylanen, I believe.
Correct. You've got it figured out.
Okay.
Mark will be coming up to do the proposed 2026 budget. You've heard a lot already on the water side. I'm sure Mark will go through some of that again and then talk maybe a little bit more on the electric side. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, thank you, Travis. Commissioners, again, welcome. Mark Moylanen, Finance and Admin Manager. The item we have before you today is to accept report number 1 on the proposed 2026 budget. Staff has done a great job putting together the budget for this year. As Tim alluded to, there's a lot of planning that goes into it in terms of capital, long-range plans, operating plans. And based on my experience here with MPS, this is probably one of the more challenging budgets that I've had to put together because we have so many large projects on the horizon. As such, we did meet with the budget working group, Commissioners Borgen, Paulson, and Baker, to go over the preliminary presentation after it was put together by management. They sat through a 2-hour presentation. We went through in great detail how we put our budget together and just the process, the various things that are interconnected to make our budget that we present every year. As a courtesy, we did do a presentation for Commissioners Lyseth and Ness because they are new to the commission and gave them a similar overview just so they could see what went into the budget process. And this evening you were probably presented with a budget binder that has 9 different chapters with all the different things put into it that provide details about our operations, our capital expenditure plans for the next 10 years, as well as what we expect to maybe do with rates with the other inputs that we know, such as labor, chemical costs, purchase power costs, and other costs that do affect MPS as a whole. What we'll be presenting tonight is that for the 2026 budget, or 2026, we're proposing a rate increase of 2% overall for electric customers. That is primarily driven by rate increases that are coming this year from MRES and WAPA, our two primary purchase power providers. And on the water side, as Tim presented so thoroughly, that we're looking at 5.5% for the budget for 2026. Just to keep things moving, I'll just leave it at that, and you'll hear that in the rate hearing when Travis presents that at 5:30. But if you do have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them at this time.
Want to have any questions? You know, Mark, I just want to commend you and your staff and Travis for taking the time to meet with us, because most of us are fairly new and we weren't really that familiar with the budgeting process for MPS. And I think the meetings were really enlightening to all of us, and taking that extra step to include the other commissioners that are not on the budget committee was really helpful, I think, too. So we appreciate it. And, you know, it is what it is. We say that a lot, but when you have a 5.5% increase on water, that 2% on electric feels pretty good. So I'll commend you on that as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you spending time. And again, I want to, again, thank all the managers, because as I stated, this was one of the more difficult budgets to put together. There are a lot of large items, and just to try and fit them in to the plan overall took a lot of back and forth just to make things work. And then again, Allison, for her work on this, because this is her first full year kind of being involved in depth in the budget. So going forward, you know, she'll have a better handle on what things are going on, and maybe be able to handle the one next year.
You know, I think it's also worth noting that it's because Moorhead has really looked ahead 10 years, making all of those plans for the capital plans. I mean, we've got to get rid of those, the cast iron pipes, which is expensive, and the state doesn't help us really. We got to pay for that. And just making sure that we have the best water in the region. So, you know, you get what you pay for, and I just think it's really great that we're looking forward and making capital plans and have the money in the bank that we can be doing those things. So again, thank you, and thank Travis and everybody else.
I want to commend Mark and Allison and all the staff that was involved with the planning process. It was lengthy, difficult, but it was fun. So.
Yeah. All right. So I will entertain a motion then to accept report number 1 on the proposed budget.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness, Paulson,
Aye.
and Borgen, yes. So that motion passes. Moving on now to item number 9G, accept the report on MRES Smart Energy Squad School Program.
Yep, I'll have Taylor talk about this. Again, we've been doing this since 2014, 2015. It's a great program. I know we've started conversations with the school district as well to try to do something on the water side, hopefully bringing something back probably early next year. So
Okay.
we'll see. Go ahead, Taylor.
Thank you, Travis. Good evening, Commission. MRES, in coordination with MPS, offers the Smart Energy Squad School Program, which is a program designed to educate fifth grade students about electric energy, energy conservation, and other energy topics through an education program in schools. This specific program provides 6 lessons specific to our local students. Lessons include locally based information, teacher resources, hands-on activities, and supported state, and they're all a part of a supported state education standards. It also includes a take-home energy kit that contains products to be used at home. Products include some night lights, some LED bulbs, and some other activities that kids are sent home to do homework with their parents. Last year, Horizon Middle School participated. The participants included 22 teachers and 560 fifth grade students. The 2 private schools in town opted out of the program last year, but they're being contacted to make it available again for this upcoming year. The students at Horizon Middle School were assessed at the beginning of the program and after. On average, the students had a 32% increase in their score at the end of the program. In addition to the education improvements, it's projected that each household will save, on average, 95.54 kilowatt hours per year. The cost of the kits is $40 per kit, and it's shared 50-50 between Missouri River Energy Services and MPS. These costs and energy savings as a result of this program are included in our SIP program, or Conservation Improvement Program. With that explanation behind us, do the commissioners have any questions on the report?
Questions, anyone? I don't have a question, but I think it's an excellent program. To be honest with you, I had a kid in 5th grade not that long ago, and she came home with this stuff, and I wondered, how did this all come to be? So now I get it. So I think it's really important, and I hope those other 2 schools in Moorhead will take advantage of it as well. Doesn't cost
Absolutely.
the school anything, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. So, all right, so I'm looking for a motion to accept the report on the Smart Energy Squad School Program.
So moved.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second, a motion and a second. All those in favor, Lyseth.
Aye.
Ness.
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Borgen, yes, that also passes. All right, well, should we move on to number 10? Okay. Number 10 on the agenda is to approve Moorhead's continuation of 100% net zero carbon supply through MRES Bright Energy Choices Program for 2026. And it looks like it's Taylor again.
Yep,
All
so
right.
I'll start off here again. A lot of coordination and collaboration with MRES. They have a lot of great programs. Again, we started this in 2021, and it's been a great program, and so I'll let Taylor go from there.
I might add, the program was created in late 2019, available for 2020, but we offered the program as an opt-in program at that time. And the Bright Energy Choices program, like I said, was created in 2019, and it allows members to purchase and retire renewable energy credits / certificates to claim that their energy is net carbon neutral. The cost of a REC is expected to remain flat at 0.1 cents per kilowatt hour for 2026. Up to this point in 2025, the average cost per month to participate in this program has come in at $11,132. If we continue with this average, the program will cost the utility a total of $133,594, which is about $7,100 lower than what we projected about this time last year. How we figure out how many RECs we're actually purchasing, we take the total power that we purchase from WAPA, and then we take the total power from Missouri River Energy Services, but we kind of slice out the piece from MRES that are purchased off the markets. So the WAPA RECs are passed to us because all of their power is hydroelectric, and then there's a portion of the market purchases from MRES that we get the RECs passed through to us, and then the remainder has to have renewable energy certificates purchased to offset. Well, actually, it's not even offset. It includes carbon production as well as the wind and solar that MRES owns. We have to purchase the RECs from them. The WAPA allocation is projected to be 54% for 2026, and then another 11% is considered net carbon neutral off the market, and that leaves us with about 35% of our energy needs to have additional RECs purchased and retired. Based on projections for 2026, the total estimated cost to participate will be $148,700. And these projections are based off of a 3-year average of total energy sales. I guess sales for us, but also purchases from WAPA and MRES. Participation in the Bright Energy Choices program is included in the proposed budget for 2026. With that, I'd entertain any questions from the commission on the topic.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Taylor. We'll look for a motion to accept that report. Or approve the continuation.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Lyseth?
Aye.
Ness?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Borgen, yes. All right, that is approved. Now we're going to go down to item number 13, which is award a bid for tree trimming.
Correct. Again, we do tree trimming on an annual basis. We split it between the north and the south side, and I'll let Adam give you the update. Go ahead, Adam.
So this agenda item is to approve our annual tree trimming contract pending the commission's approval, of course. To ensure MPS's continued reliability, tree trimming is performed on a 2-year cycle, and this year the north side of Moorhead is scheduled for trimming. We sent out 7 notification letters and received 2 bids, with the lowest being Carr's Tree Service. There was a 5.9% increase this year compared to 2 years ago, mainly due to rising labor and equipment costs. An additional bid item, alternate number 1, was included for the removal of 9 trees that are encroaching too closely to our 115 transmission line along I-94 in South Moorhead. MPS staff recommends awarding both the base bid and the alternate to Carr's Tree Service. Any questions?
Have any questions? I'll tell you what, I learned something when I read this report. I did not realize that we did one side of the town one year and another side the other year. That was pretty interesting to me. So, all right, so we had no questions. I will look for a motion to award that bid.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. All right. The next item is number 14, award bids for electrical materials.
Bid season, so I'll have Adam explain this and give you the good news.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
Adam.
Okay, so last time you got to hear from me. This is our annual order for wire transformers and switches. Some of these items continue to be affected by supply chain issues, such as the switches, which have the longest lead times. Lead times are improving drastically for some manufacturers, but prices remain influenced by current market conditions. However, prices on transformers did drop significantly, at least for this year. All transformers being ordered this year are 3-phase in preparation for upcoming projects in 2026 and in-stock spares. We will not need to order the single-phase tubs that were bid due to decreasing lead times and earlier than expected delivery of our previous orders. Any questions on electric materials?
I don't hear any questions. Looks like,
One thing to note,
Yeah.
Adam had estimated that overall cost for this materials was about $900,000, and it did come in at about $445,000. So as Adam noted, it's a huge change from what we were estimating.
And that was based off our numbers for what we paid last year, so that's how much it dropped
that's great.
for this year only,
Very, very good, so.
at least.
And then
All
on
right.
the transformer side, just so you as commissioners understand, we do a total life cycle cost. So there's what they call losses in the transformers, and we calculate that into our costs to get the best transformer for the dollars that we spend.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to award the bid.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right, we got a motion and we have a second. All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness, Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. All right. And we'll do one more. We'll go to number 15.
I think, let's
We-
just pause
no,
for a
We're
minute.
gonna pause for a minute, I
We'll
guess.
go to item 8, we'll do our rate hearings, and then we'll go back and finish up everything
Okay.
after the rate hearings.
All right, I will note that it is 5:30 and that is the time that we posted for the rate hearing. So I am going to read what needs to be read before we do the rate hearing. As stated in Article 5, Section 7, rules governing the conduct of rate hearings of the Moorhead Public Service bylaws adopted on November 14th, 2017. No rate change shall be adopted by the commission unless the commission first holds a public hearing affording all affected parties a chance to participate. A notice of said hearing shall be published in the official newspaper of the city at least 10 days prior to the date set for the hearing. The notice shall indicate the purpose for, the time, date, and place of the hearing. The hearing shall be conducted by the chairperson or a commissioner selected by the commission. At the hearing, the commission and its staff shall present the facts establishing the need for and the reasonableness of the proposed rate change. Sufficient time shall be allowed to enable all interested parties to be heard, but the commission shall determine when all relevant testimony has been presented or when testimony has become repetitive. Testimony will be considered only after a speaker has been recognized and the person has identified him or herself. For 30 days subsequent to the closing of the hearing and prior to the adoption of a rate change, written testimony shall be received and considered by the commission. The commission may grant extensions prior to the adoption of the rate change if it finds that additional testimony is necessary or productive. After all relevant testimony has been submitted, the commission shall adopt rates which it determines to be necessary and reasonable, including the effective date, and cause the same to be published in the official newspaper of the city. So we're going to need a motion to open the electric rate hearing.
Make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness, Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. All right, so now that will open the rate hearing.
So what I'll do is I'll give a presentation. If we can bring the presentation up on the screen, please. Cheryl. All right. Again, this is the Moorhead Public Service rate hearing for 2026 electric rates. All right. How are electric rates determined? As you've heard earlier this evening, we've talked about the water side. We do the same thing for the electric. It is a cost of service-based rate study or approach for rate increases. 2023 was our last electric rate study. Our next one is projected to be in 2028. Again, what is included in our overall plan, or what we look at, we do a long-range plan. We're looking at the next 10 years. We look at purchase power costs and transmission cost forecasts, what's going to occur in 26, along with hopefully having that information as well. Again, we do note that we have information from MRES or projected planned rate increases. On the MRES side, WAPA is a little harder to pin down, so we continue to work on that one as well too. City of Moorhead transfer under the 2024 through 2026 rate agreement or transfer agreement, operating expenditures, capital improvement plans, and reserved requirements. We do an annual in-depth review. Typically this review takes about 4 months. Typically we start in August and we finish everything up in December with the approval of the rate hearing. As noted earlier, we met with the budget working group earlier this month to go through the budget and look at projected rate increases over the next 10 years. Tonight we are having our public hearing, and then final approval of the rates will be held or happen on December 16th. Again, this is just a slide to kind of show you the different programs we have. We've got our Capture the Energy program, Capture the Sun, Capture the Earth, and also our Capture the Wind program as well too. And as noted just previously in a few items prior to this, we did have our Bright Energy Choices program as well. And then we do also do Bright Energy Solutions, which is more of the rebate program that we work with MRES on as well. Okay, what rates and fees are changing? Again, overall, we're looking at an overall 2% increase to the budget. And then looking at 27, 28 for an additional 2% rate increases in those years, and then 2.5% rate increases in 2029 and 2030. Again, those are all subject to change based on changing conditions, and there's also a rate study that'll occur in that time frame as well too. Cost of service rate restructure, no changes for customer classes. They will all remain the same. Fee structure changes, or surcharge changes, of course, we just talked about that, and we've incorporated that, so there are still those surcharges that will occur. I think in 2026, we are hitting our 10-year mark with Oakport, so we will have our 10-year payoff to Red River Valley Co-op done, but that doesn't mean that we've paid off the entire cost of that buyout yet. So be some years for that. And Mark typically gives a report on that, or we give a report in January. So next slide. So 2026 rate surcharges, again, we just talked about that. As you can see, there's some adjustments there based on adjusting rate increases that are going on with MPS, and then also with those former utilities that we purchased or had buyouts from, or we bought out their service territory from. Again, proposed rate increase is 2%. Again, average residential customer will see an average increase of $1.35. Again, that is based off use of about 850 kilowatt hours on a monthly basis. So as you can see, the customer charge is going to go up by about 50 cents from 2025 to 2026. That's about a 2.8% increase. And then we'll have some smaller adjustments on the energy charges as well too. Just note we do have a summer June through August rate for kilowatt hours, and then we have a September through May rate as well too. So those are both going up just slightly, and then we also have some adjustments as well as part of the dual fuel program. And really the only change there is the kilowatt hour rate is going up by about 2.2%. Next slide. Again, this gets more into our general service or our commercial and our industrial customer rate classes. Again, customer charges, those are going to go up by about 7%, and that's the flat fee that they pay on a monthly basis. And then there's also a kilowatt hour adjustment as well too. That's going up about 1.8% in the summer months, and then about 1% in the September through May amount. And then there is a demand charge on there if a customer is over 25 kilowatts on a monthly basis. That's based on their highest 15-minute interval. They get a demand charge as well too. That's going up slightly as well, 1.66%. On the general service side, again, customer charges where most of the increase is at. It's going to be going up by about $5. Energy charge for primary and secondary. So for primary, that means that they take regular distribution voltage from us. We don't transform it down to them. On the secondary, that's also in there as well too. Again, those are going up about the same. Where am I at? So again, the kilowatt hour or demand charges are also cyclical as well too. So we got a summer rate, and then we've got the non-summer rate as well for both primary and secondary. Just a slide there, so I apologize for that. Where will your payments go? Again, we're looking at a residential rate here. Again, expected based on 850 kilowatt hours per month. It's expected to cost $100.45. So where does that $100.45 go? Again, roughly 42% goes to purchase power, about 20% goes to city transfer, 12.5% to CapEx, or capital expenditures not financed. Salaries, wages, and benefits are about 11%. Our overall operating expenses are about just under 6%. Principal and interest payments, those are about 7% as well too. Cash reserves is about 1.35%. We got a loan to the water division for the AMI project. We're receiving some income on. Is that correct, Mark? Okay. And then increased bond reserves as well too. So that's overall where that $100 goes, or what it's tied to within that. Again, we've talked about our rate comparisons as well too in a previous meeting. Even with the 2% rate increase, based on looking at 4 other utilities in the metro area, we will definitely be the lowest in rates in that residential customer class. So again, we've had that for about 4 or 5 years now, so we're doing really good. We'd like to continue to keep with that as well too. Again, talking about our where we were in the past and going into the future for rate forecasting, we had about 4 or 5 years of 0% rate increases through 2022, and we've had some 2%, 2.5% over the last 3 years. Again, we're projecting or suggesting a 2% rate increase for 2026. We do feel that the next 2 years after that, 26 or 7 and 8, will be 2%. But then again, as Mark alluded to earlier, with all those major projects coming in, we're going to have to be bumping up to about a 2.5% rate increase in 29 through 2035. Again, overall, as we discussed, and you'll see this in the water rate hearing as well, we got a $1.35 net impact on the electric side for those charges. And then we'll talk about water in a little bit, but that's going to be about a $3.33 net impact to those customers as well too. So with that, I will open it up for any questions from the commission, and then any members of Moorhead that want to talk.
Are there any members from the public that want to address the commission about the electric rates? Doesn't appear to be. So, any comments from any of the commissioners? All right, I will entertain a motion to close the electric rate hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness, Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. Motion carries. The next thing we're going to do is open the rate hearing for the water rates. So I will need a motion to open that hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. So we will now go into the water rate hearing.
Give it just a second to pull the PowerPoint up, and you get to hear me speak again. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, again, 2026 water rate hearing. We'll run through this as well too. We've heard it a lot. So again, did our 2025 rate study this year, as we talked about earlier this evening. Again, that's for 2026 through 2029 rates. We'll look at doing another rate study in 2029 for 2030. Again, long-range planning, we look at everything over the next 10 years for what major capital projects we've got coming, along with our operating costs and everything else that goes into that as well too. Chemical pricing, of course, is one of our major factors, along with that lime byproduct hauling as well too. And then, of course, our reserve requirements as well. Again, overall, it's an in-depth review, 4-month process, typically a little less variable here because we don't have to, we do have some timelines that we got to see information coming from WAPA and MRES on, where this we don't have to see that. Again, we met with the budget work group. We went over electric and water at the same time earlier this month. We got a rate hearing tonight, and then final approval on December 16th. Here, so again, capital improvements, we've got about $31.3 million over the next 5 years. Again, some of that, about $1.7 million in water main replacement. Again, that's getting that cast iron pipe out of the ground. That's part of our water main asset management plan. Again, we got about $700,000 included in that for ozone purification system. And then we've got $350 for multi-year well field construction projects, existing underground storage tank rehabilitation, some fleet replacement as well too. And then we've got about $400,000 in the budget for lead service line replacement as well too. and of that, roughly about 300,000 is reimbursed by the state of Minnesota. All right, proposed rate increases. Again, we're going to look at our customer charge or our meter based on our meter size. Again, you'll see those being adjusted just for the 5/8 and 3/4 that Tim talked about earlier. Those will go up about 3.64%, basically tying in that water rate study into what we're proposing tonight. So we're on to our our overall 5.5% rate increase on the water side. You'll see those adjustments. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. Again, some adjustments that Tim talked about earlier this evening, and those adjustments as well too. We do provide this in both cubic feet and gallons, as you are aware. With our AMI meter replacement project, we're converting to cubic feet, or from cubic feet to gallons, just because everybody knows what a gallon looks like. So again, overall adjustments on the commodity charge. Again, this is so it looks like there's a little typo at the top of that, but we got the right numbers here. So again, commodity, looking at an average customer, 600 cubic feet or 4,500 gallons a month. That meter charge will go up by about 75 cents, and then the commodity charge will go up by about $2.58. It's a total of $3.33. So that's a overall impact to the customers on the residential side for that as well too. All right, where does that money go? So roughly, interestingly enough, we got $53 even is what that expected cost is for 600 cubic feet of water on a monthly basis. Roughly 15.6% goes to chemicals, or $8.27. Transfer is about 5.8% or $3. Capital items not financed, that's about 14.8% or $7.84. Salary, wages, and benefits, that's about 29.2% or about $15.48. Operating expenses, those are about $21.3 or percent or $11.31. Bond reserves, of course, that's about 0.3%. Principal interest, that's about 13% or $6.70. All right, comparisons. Again, we talked about this earlier this evening, as Tim alluded to. Ours is a little different. Theirs is a little bit more expansive than ours. So again, overall, we're kind of in the middle towards the top end of that. So again, something to be continually watching from a commission standpoint, and at a staff level, something we always look at as well too. Again, where have we been and where are we going with our rate increases over the last roughly 10 years? We had a bunch of 5s and 6s in 19, 20, and 21. We shifted downward to about 3.5% for 22, 23, and then a 4% in 2024. In 25, we went to 5.5%. Again, that's a reminder that, you know, if Bush or Anheuser-Busch wouldn't have left, we would have been looking at 4% rate increases overall as an impact. So we're looking at doing 5.5% through 2029, and then I think hopefully we can bump back down to 4% in 2030. But again, that is a wait and see process. Again, overall, we kind of saw this slide in the electric rate hearing. Again, $1.35 net impact on the electric, $3.33 on the water side of things, with an overall $4.68 per month impact based on 850 kilowatt hours of electricity and 600 cubic feet of water used on a monthly basis. So with that, any questions?
Do the commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard? Anyone from the public that wants to be heard about the water rate increases? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the water rate hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, Lyseth?
Aye.
Ness?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Borgen, yes. So the water rate hearing is closed.
I do want to note also that we do have residential and commercial industrial fact sheets. I think you as commissioners were provided that tonight. It is also on the website.
Okay.
Correct, Cheryl? tomorrow it will be
It'll
on the
be on the
website.
website tomorrow if you're interested in those.
Yeah.
All right, written comments will be received for 30 days from the date of this hearing, and no action will be taken on the rates until 30 days from the beginning of this rate hearing. For comments to be considered by the commission, written comments should be emailed to mps@mpsutility.com or be postmarked no later than Thursday, November 20th, 2025, and mailed to the Moorhead Public Service Commission, P.O. Box 779, Moorhead, Minnesota 56561. The person providing the comments must provide his or her name and address along with the comments. A formal decision regarding MPS's 2026 rate structure will be determined by the Commission's meeting on or about December 16th, 2025. Additional information on our proposed budget and rates is available at www.mpsutility.com. All right. Now we're going to move back to the agenda and we're going to go to item number 15. Approve the statement of work with Advanced Utility Systems for MPS Customer Information System upgrade.
Sure, and I've got Kurt McLean, he's taking the lead on this just because of the IT and software side of things. Again, in 2006, we converted from an old system to our current system. We did do an upgrade in roughly 2013, so for this one, we'll be going from version 3 to version 5. And I'll let Kurt take it from there.
Good evening. In late 2005, Moorhead Public Service chose Advanced Utility System to implement a new billing system. At that point, the cost was about $388,000. Since then, they've made significant upgrades, including automating customer payments, launching online services in 2008, and in 2013, we upgraded from version 2, which we initially purchased, to version 3, which we are currently on. The cost of that was $41,250. Currently, MPS is using the software for customer accounts, billing, collections. We have an AMI file-based integration. That's how we move meter information back and forth. Version 5 will enable data sharing with other systems like outage management, GPS, and will provide a real-time interface into the AMI system, which is very important because it allows us to give a customer-facing portal that will show them usage for both water and electric. We were one of the last users of CIS version 3. With that in mind, Advanced very much is encouraging us to upgrade. They no longer support they no longer update version 3. They still support us on version 3. They have not given us an end of support date yet, but it's coming.
Why did we never go to number 4? Just out of curiosity.
That's a really good question, and I don't really know the answer to that. Version 4 was out when we went to version 3, but previous to me, there was a decision made not to do that. Since then, it's been a cost issue. You know, do we get enough value out of it? So that decision was delayed. I'm not sure that it really affects the end cost today because it doesn't have to step. We don't have to go from 3 to 4, 4 to 5. It's a single conversion. Okay. So it does not affect what we're paying today. So in the long run, we've probably saved some amount of money that we would have paid for an upgrade. I don't know what that number is.
Thank you.
Yep. Version 5 also contains a bunch of processing and database enhancements, making it much more easy for us to manage. The new interface is all web-based. Again, makes that much easier to manage for us and able to roll out and keep things updated. The statement of work for the upgrade to CIS version 5 indicates a fixed cost of $977,446, which includes the ServiceLink mobile management system as well as the Silverblaze customer portal. The management system allows electronic dispatch of our service vehicles, direct integration from the truck to the gals sitting in the office, which is a really nice feature, especially with doing meter change-outs and maintenance work on customer premise. That information flows back and forth I say instantaneously, but within a few seconds anyway. So it helps us keep things updated. The Silverblaze customer portal, as I indicated before, will allow billing, managing of your billing account, seeing past bills, current bills, as well as all of the AMI information that we're collecting, so they can see their usage on both water and electric, as well as leak detection and other advanced features like that. If you have any questions, I'm open to address them.
This is included in the, it's actually included in the 26 and 27 budget as well too, so.
Any questions from anyone?
This started in 2003, you said. Thank you for that information.
2005, we did the initial
2005,
rollout.
okay.
We came
And-
from a Linux-based system at that point.
Sure, so we've been on that same version for that time period.
From 2005 to 13, we were on version 2. We went to version 3 in 2013.
It's not like a new version comes out every other year.
No,
Sure.
no,
Thank you.
you bet.
Any other questions? Well, it sounds like this is something we need,
Yep.
and IT isn't cheap, that's for darn sure.
No, it's not.
Well, this is all the billing, so this is how we make our money. So
Right.
we gotta make sure we've got a good software there, and again, with them not supporting it, unfortunately, it's inevitable that we have to
Yeah.
do this, so.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the statement of work.
Kurt, what,
Motion.
yeah, go ahead, I can
Okay,
answer.
we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Yes.
Paulson,
Aye.
Morgan, yes. All right, did you have another comment,
Kurt,
Travis?
what's the, I mean, I think is it roughly 12 months to kind of prep everything, and then we've got a few more months after that until it'll be operational sometime in 2027, correct? Late 2027. So part of this is we're gonna get close to getting AMI done, so we gotta start getting everything ready for that conversion. So once AMI is done, we automatically switch and get this taken care of right away.
All right, I'm assuming the implementation won't be overnight.
Oh, no.
No. So maybe by 2028, the customer will be able to look online and see their usage. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is number 17, to approve the general manager's performance evaluation and compensation. So I'm going to kind of go over the conclusions of the performance evaluation, and then we as a commission will determine the compensation. So, a summary of the conclusions of the evaluation of the performance of General Manager Travis Schmidt pursuant to Minnesota Statute, Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3. On September 23rd, 2025, the Moorhead Public Service Commission held a closed meeting to evaluate the performance of General Manager Travis Schmidt. In accordance with Minnesota law, at this commission meeting, the next possible open meeting following that closed session, Moorhead Public Service is required to summarize the conclusions reached by the commission during that performance evaluation. The conclusions: all commissioners completed the general manager's annual performance evaluation, which included individual questionnaires and discussion of written materials provided by the general manager. The commission finds that General Manager Schmidt continues to meet and exceed expectations in his leadership of Moorhead Public Service. Commissioners recognize significant accomplishments over the past year, including continued advancement of the AMI project, keeping implementation on schedule and within budget. Strong financial management, maintaining Moorhead Public Services AA2 bond rating and ensuring rate competitiveness across both electric and water divisions. Proactive engagement in long-term water supply planning, including aquifer protection, rural water system coordination, and Red River water quality initiatives. Steady progress on infrastructure renewal, particularly water main replacement and lead service line inventory work. Improved internal culture and employee engagement, emphasizing training, advanced opportunities, and transparent communication. Productive relationships with city leadership and regional partners focused on collaboration and shared service goals. The commissioners expressed appreciation for general manager's strategic vision, professionalism, and responsiveness to commission direction. The commission supports the general manager's outlined goals for the coming year, including completing the AMI deployment, advancing water quality and supply initiatives, implementing and communication marketing plan, and continuing organizational development efforts. Based on his performance, the commission concurs that a salary adjustment is warranted, consistent with the terms of employment and evaluation outcomes. The commission looks forward to continuing a strong working relationship with General Manager Schmidt in advancing the mission and values of Moorhead Public Service. So with that, the next item is for the commission to approve compensation for the general manager. And we received a memo from,
Make a motion, please, on the one you just read to
Okay.
approve the
Thank
summary
you.
of conclusion. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we go into compensation, we are going to need a motion to approve the summary of conclusions. So I'm looking for the motion.
Make a
I'll
motion.
move to approve.
All right, so we'll
I'll
take that from Paulson and we'll take a second from Ness. Any discussion? All those in favor, Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. So that is approved. Now we're going to move on to the compensation for the general manager. So we received a memo from the Director of Finance, Mr. Moylanen, in regard to step increases for the general manager. I'll note that there are 3 options that are outlined in this memo. One would be no increase, and I would assume that that would be if his performance evaluation was not satisfactory. The next option would be to increase by 1 step, which would be a 3.19 increase. And the third option would be to increase to the maximum step of step 13 at a 6.38% increase. We were also given information from Mr. Moylanen about the previous increases that Mr. Schmidt has received over the years. So I guess I'm looking for some discussion or some opening comments from anyone in regard to what the commission would like to do as far as increase the salary of Mr. Schmidt.
I'll make a motion for a one-step
Increase?
increase.
Okay. So just
I'll
to,
second.
okay. So what we're looking at is increasing to step number 12, which would be a 3.19% increase. We have a motion from Lyseth, a second from Paulson. Any discussion on that?
Does that leave it for one additional step increase throughout the year? So, and that step increase would be approximately 3%. Is that,
It looks like the next step would be 13, which would be the max on his grid.
if a 3%, roughly 3% increase, then at some point, do we know when that step takes place?
I think it would be the next year, maybe. Mr. Moylanen, do you want to enlighten us about that compensation?
At this time, usually there's an adjustment. The base pay structure for 2025 gets superseded by a base pay for 2026. So at January 1, all employees under the 25 pay do get a 3% rate increase. So and this would be 3.19 now, and then January 1, the base pay would go up again, and based on the contracted bargaining unit steps, it would be another approximate 3%.
Okay, thank you. I think that answers the question. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Ness?
so roughly overall, over 6% between now and January, first part of January.
That would be correct.
Yeah, and then you do another, there'd be another review next year, and that's where that other step would be available.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Do we have any other questions or any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion for the 3.19% step increase? Lyseth,
Aye.
Ness,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Borgen, yes. So that motion carries. We're approving the compensation for the general manager.
Commissioner Borgen?
Yes.
I just want to, all that happens at MPS doesn't happen without the team I've got. So I want to give them a kudos and thank you for all their hard work that they put in throughout the year. I can't do it alone, so I want a kudos to them.
All right. I think I totally agree with that. They're
I would
always
agree with
here.
that as well. My short time as the commission, working with this team has been a real joy, and their professionalism and expertise really comes through.
Yep. All right. So the next item on the agenda would be a closed meeting for executive session. I do not believe we have one planned or need one.
Nothing tonight.
So item number 19 is some upcoming meetings. There is a potential meeting on November 4th. We do have a scheduled meeting on, no, that's wrong. Is that right? Yeah, that's right, November 18th. And then there's some opportunities to go to some trainings. There's the APPA Customer Connections Conference, November 2 to 5. Is anyone going to that?
I think we have one staff member going to it.
Okay, good. And then the Midwest Energy Summit is on November 19th in West Fargo. Is anyone signed up for that?
We haven't put the notice out on that yet. We're still finalizing some of those details yet. But yes, that'll be coming here shortly.
Okay, sounds good. And that looks like we're down to item number 20, which is adjourning the meeting. I'll have a motion
So moved?
and a second.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, Lyseth?
Aye.
Ness?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Borgen? I vote yes too. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.